What if I told you that one African leader shocked both the United States and China, not with war or politics, but with a world-class megacity? Yes, you heard that right. Captain Ibrahim Traoré, the young president of Burkina Faso, did something that nobody saw coming. Stick with me. This story will blow your mind. When Ibrahim Traoré became the leader of Burkina Faso, most people thought he would focus only on fighting terrorism and fixing the country's broken systems. After all, the country had been through a lot: coups, poverty, insecurity, and foreign interference. Many didn't even know his name before he came to power. He was a soldier, young and quiet. He didn't speak like a politician. He spoke like someone on a mission. But nobody, not even his biggest supporters, expected what would happen next. You see, most African leaders, when they take office, talk about basic things: roads, schools, food, fuel. These are important, yes. But Traoré had a much bigger dream. A dream so bold, so unexpected, that even some of his close allies didn't believe it at first. His plan? To build a mega city. Yes. A brand new city. From the ground up. Not a small city with just a few buildings. No. This was going to be a modern, world-class city with smart technology, solar energy, clean transport, green parks, water systems, digital infrastructure, and even underground power cables. Something like Dubai. Something like Singapore. But built in Burkina Faso, one of the poorest countries in the world. Now let's pause there. Because this is where the story gets really interesting. At first, when news of the plan quietly leaked out, many people didn't take it seriously. They thought it was just talk, maybe even a distraction. People said, Burkina Faso is struggling to survive. Who has time to build a fancy city? Where is the money going to come from? What about the war against terrorists? This is not possible. Even outside Africa, many powerful countries, especially in the West and Asia, ignored the news. The United States didn't say much, but quietly, officials believed the plan would never happen. China, a country known for its megaprojects, also didn't react. Some Chinese media laughed it off, calling it just another African fantasy. But what they didn't know was that Captain Ibrahim Traoré wasn't just dreaming, he was already working. Silently. Carefully. Step by step. He didn't organize press conferences. He didn't make noise. He got to work. First, he met with local architects, engineers, and planners. Not foreigners, locals. He told them, we will build it ourselves. No begging. No loans. We must prove that Africans can do it. Land was quietly allocated in a safe zone far from the conflict areas. Surveyors started moving in. Designs were made. Plans were drawn. Then came the game changer: solar power. Instead of relying on fuel or unstable electricity, the megacity was designed to be 100% solar powered. This shocked everyone who saw the early blueprints. No African country had done something this bold before, not even South Africa or Nigeria. Clean energy meant no power failures, no fuel shortages, and no need to import gas from outside. It also meant lower costs over time. Traoré didn't stop there. He added digital infrastructure, smart road lights that turn on only when needed, underground cables that reduce damage during storms, and clean water systems that use new African tech for recycling and storage. All this, without asking for money from the International Monetary Fund or World Bank. Instead, Traoré invested national resources and blocked corrupt officials from touching the budget. He called on young engineers across Burkina Faso and even neighboring African countries. If you believe in this dream, come and work. You'll be paid. But more importantly, you'll be part of history. And they came. Hundreds of youth. Working day and night. Clearing the land. Pouring concrete. Installing solar panels. Brick by brick, the vision started coming alive. Still, no international media noticed. CNN didn't report it. BBC didn't care. China didn't comment. But Traoré didn't need their attention. He was building something for the people, not for cameras. To make sure the mega city wouldn't become just another place for politicians and elites, Traoré made a rule. 60% of housing would be for working-class families, students and traders. The rest? Offices, hospitals, markets, green parks, public schools, tech hubs, and more. One journalist who managed to sneak photos said, "I thought I was in Rwanda or Morocco. But this was Burkina Faso. I was shocked." Still, most people around the world had no idea what was happening. Traoré wasn't in a rush to show off. He believed in building first, then speaking later. And so, while the world was busy talking politics, fighting for oil, and debating sanctions, a new city, a new future, was rising quietly in West Africa. A future that would soon shake the world. At first, the project moved quietly. No flashy news headlines. No shouting on social media. Just steady work. Bricks. Cement. Solar panels. Sweat. But as time passed, something incredible began to happen. One early morning, a young local drone operator flew his camera over the construction site. He was only trying to make content for his channel. But what he saw from the sky shocked even him. Tall buildings rising in perfect lines. Bright solar panels stretching across rooftops. Newly tarred roads that were so clean they reflected the morning sun. Green parks laid out like computer designs. Every part of the city was organized, no mess, no confusion. And just like that, the drone video went viral. Within 48 hours, it spread across West Africa. Within a week, it reached Europe. And then America. And then China. Suddenly, the world started paying attention. CNN ran a headline. New African city appears from nowhere. What's going on in Burkina Faso? Chinese media published drone images with surprise. They weren't laughing now. They were studying. Zooming into every frame. Asking questions. Who designed this city? Where is the money coming from? Is this a Chinese-backed project? But it wasn't. There was no Chinese signature. No US funding. No French fingerprints. It was pure African effort. Driven by one man, Ibrahim Traoré. The megacity had been planned to be smart, clean, and sustainable, and it was exactly that. The world had expected dust and chaos. What they saw was beauty and order. American analysts were shocked by the way the streets were structured. Vertical traffic lights powered by the sun. Droplet water pipes hidden underground, fully functional. A hospital already half complete, designed to run fully on solar energy. Public schools with large digital blackboards, already installed. Palm tree parks with recycled water flowing through small artificial streams. All of it was real. Not animation. Not CGI. Not Photoshop. Real buildings. Real trees. Real technology. In the middle of West Africa. Suddenly, foreign embassies in Ouagadougou began making calls. They wanted details. Was it a hoax? Was it a private investor? Was China secretly helping? The answer? No. There were no loans. No foreign companies. No billionaire donors. Everything was done locally. The US Department of State quietly sent experts to investigate. Not publicly, but behind the scenes. They were not happy that they were caught off guard. They weren't used to Africa doing something this big without outside help. China's government, on the other hand, was confused. Burkina Faso had no deep economic ties with them. Yet, this city looked like something they themselves had built in Shanghai. Even the African Union was surprised. The project had not been listed under any major development plan. It had no fancy name like Agenda 2063. It was simply called Nouvelle Afrique, New Africa. One by one, countries started sending requests. Can we visit the site? Can we talk to the engineers? Can we offer technical partnership? But Traoré didn't respond quickly. He was focused. He didn't want handshakes. He wanted results. Instead of attending big conferences, he stayed on the ground, wearing his military uniform, talking to the workers, checking the materials, walking the site without cameras. The youth loved him even more. One worker said, "He came and stood with us while we were laying blocks. He didn't give a speech. He just asked if we had eaten." That was leadership. Simple. Real. African. Meanwhile, social media exploded. TikTokers made videos comparing the new city to Lagos, Nairobi, and even Paris. Some called it Africa's best-kept secret. Others named it the city that America missed. Within weeks, over 50 million people had seen images of the mega city. And still, it was not finished. But even at half complete, it had already sent a message. Globe showing Europe, Africa, Africa was changing. Hammer and wrench # the youth were ready. Construction worker medium dark skin tone emoji modifier # the time of always waiting for foreign aid was over. And at the center of it all was a calm, disciplined soldier, not shouting, not dancing, just doing the work. Experts in Washington admitted it in private. This city could shift influence in West Africa. Why? Because it wasn't just a city. It was a symbol. A message that if you believe in your people, they will build something the world cannot ignore. Meanwhile, China, realizing it had been caught sleeping, offered to help expand the metro system. But Traoré refused politely. He said, "We will finish what we started. Ourselves." The world didn't see this coming. They expected poverty. They got innovation. They expected corruption. They saw discipline. They expected failure. But Traoré delivered progress. This was the day the world woke up. Not because of war. Not because of oil. But because an African nation built something big without asking permission. And that shook the world. By the time the megacity in Burkina Faso was almost complete, it had already done something very few African projects had ever done. It changed how the world looked at a country they once ignored. This wasn't just about buildings or solar panels anymore. It was something deeper. Something more powerful. It was about Africa standing up, without fear, without begging. Ibrahim Traoré, a young soldier with no long political history, had done what decades of aid and foreign advice couldn't do. He built a vision from the ground. He inspired a generation. And he shocked the world powers. Let's be honest. For years, the image of Africa in many foreign countries was always the same: war, poverty, hunger, and corruption. News channels only reported when something bad happened. But now, something beautiful had happened, and the world had no choice but to pay attention. The mega city had become a symbol. A symbol of hope, discipline, and self-belief. When international reporters finally got permission to visit the city, they were amazed by what they saw. One CNN journalist said, "I've reported from over 40 countries. I never thought I'd say this, but this place feels more organized than some parts of the US. Inside the city, the roads were wide, lined with trees. Buses were electric. Traffic was smooth. The buildings were not just tall, they were smart. Some had sensors that controlled lights and air to save energy. Public schools had free Wi-Fi. Hospitals had solar-powered cooling systems. Waste was sorted and recycled, something many Western cities still struggle with. But here's the best part. The people living in the city were everyday Burkina citizens, not elites, not foreign investors. Farmers. Teachers. Taxi drivers. Tailors. Young people who once had no job, no hope, now walking proud in a city they helped build. And Traoré? He didn't build the city to boast. He built it to make a point. Africa doesn't need to be saved. Africa needs to be trusted. That one message echoed louder than any speech. For too long, African countries were told they must follow others. Borrow this. Import that. Accept help. Sign agreements you don't understand. But this time, Burkina Faso said, "No. We'll do it our way." And the world felt the shift. The United Nations sent a congratulatory letter, calling the city a model of grassroots-driven innovation. Several African leaders, shocked and inspired, asked for help to copy the design. Suddenly, Burkina Faso, once considered too small to matter, became a teacher. Niger, Mali, Guinea, countries once looked down on, now saw what was possible. Even Kenya and Ghana sent delegates to learn from the team. But Traoré didn't seek applause. He avoided interviews. He refused awards. He kept saying the same thing. Let the people enjoy it first. That's my reward. That kind of humility shocked even his critics. Back in Washington, experts held quiet meetings. Some saw the project as a threat. Is Africa moving away from us? Is this a new form of independence? But others saw something different. A chance to finally respect Africa, not just use it. China also changed its tone. After failing to dominate the project, they offered to fund a second city in another part of Burkina Faso. But Traoré, once again, said, "We're not building cities to impress. We're building them to serve." This is what made the entire movement so different. It wasn't about power. It was about purpose. And that purpose sent one loud message to the world. Africa is not weak. Africa is not poor. Africa is not waiting for a savior. Africa is ready. And now, the youth finally had proof. Not in theory. Not in dreams. But in real streets. Real schools. Real buildings. You could walk through the city. You could feel the future in the air. You could see what's possible when a leader believes in his people. That's why the mega city shook the world. Not because of money. Not because of foreign investment. But because one African soldier dared to believe. And backed that belief with action. Today, when people fly into Burkina Faso, they don't just see dust and heat. They see hope rising from the land. A hope built by hand. Powered by sunlight. And led by a quiet, disciplined man named Captain Ibrahim Traoré. The story is still going. More cities may follow. More countries may rise. But one thing is clear. Africa has changed. And the world is still in shock.